Okay, great to be here. Really excited to talk to you guys about this. It's such an interesting topic. So many people here probably want to do good and are also involved in tech. I just wondered if we could start by defining terms. I mean, how do you define good? I mean, how do we do good with tech?
You want me to start?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Well, first of all, Classy is a platform that works with nonprofits and social enterprises to solve social problems. And we do that on a large scale and a small localized scale. Example might be building a playground in a low-income neighborhood. On a large scale might be working with the largest NGOs in the world to alleviate poverty in a country. So when we think about good, I think we're thinking about it through the lens of the organizations that we work with. And I think it's all relative to the social problem that the organization is trying to solve. So it's a little bit of a gray answer there, but I think it really depends on the circumstance.
Right. Bryan,
yes, I think.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I started a fund last year called the OS Fund, and it's $100 million devoted to bold and audacious entrepreneurs working on quantum leap breakthroughs that would benefit billions of people for generations to come. So we have investments trying to radically extend life, trying to mine an asteroid, a lot of synthetic biology, artificial intelligence. But as I prepare for this panel, I think really as I unpack the questions around doing good, I think it's one of the most important questions facing humanity, and it's specifically because if you look at the technologies we now have at our disposal, synthetic biology, computer software, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, we can literally program our existence at any level. We can program what kind of world we build. And given that we're at a conference here of tech builders, we have this question of what are we going to build and why? And it's this really important question because even if you take the most basic assumption of extending human life, there's disagreement on whether that's good. And so I think that where I land, and I'm personally trying to explore this, is the first way, I guess the first step I take at this is pluralism, that we build things that enhance people's specific beliefs and values, that we coexist and thrive together. 2, that we do no harm, and 3, that we do good with tech by building good tech. It's a start, but I think it really is an extremely important question given the power of technology we have to create today, and that we all are building things that impact the world and each other.
Yeah, and Scott, I mean, you have the most focused, probably, portfolio here. So tell us a bit about Charity Water and how do you decide what's good and how is technology?
Yeah. So in our world, it's kind of two things. There's, we believe people drinking water is a universal good. People need clean water to live, and it's crazy, but 750 million people, do not have current clean water today. So while we have our smartphones and our connected world and, our kitty litter boxes that, auto-dispense kitty litter, 750 people don't have their most basic need met. So that's the mission. But really, the vision of the organization is to encourage generosity and get people to care about their neighbor, right? To create a movement of compassion and empathy and get people to be generous, to give of their time, of their talent, of their treasure. We think water is, we were talking about this backstage, just something that is able to unify people that might disagree on so many other topics about what is good, whether that be political or even religious, but pretty much everybody can stand for water, for children drinking clean water. So, for us, it's the mission of clean water, but also generosity and compassion and encouraging people to kind of step outside of themselves and care for others.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of charity groups out there, charities, there's nothing new about this, but it's like, how do you think technology has changed this picture? I mean, what's different to you and say, the Salvation Army 300 years ago, or 200 years ago, whatever it is? I mean, it's like...
Yeah, I think Scott's going to speak to this too. I mean, people want more from their charities now. They expect more. In the old days, the charity model was ask for money, ask for more money, ask for more money, and just continue asking for money without telling people what they did with it or even how much of it reached. So, we just started out 8 years ago with a different business model saying one of the biggest problems is people don't know where their money actually goes or how much of it will even reach the people they're trying to serve. So we put together 100 individuals that pay for the overhead costs so that we could give away 100% of the public's money. The second thing we said was, okay, well, let's use technology just to prove, in our case, water points. Photos, GPS, let's put every water point up on Google Earth and Google Maps. Let's just be transparent. We started funding drilling rigs that actually tweet their location. So we've looked for all of these ways to connect generous people who are giving money with that actual impact. And also raising money online as well. You know, it's one of the most efficient, scalable ways to raise money. Buying your physical mailing address and sending you, 100 pages of paper and a, self-addressed stamped envelope writing a check. It's like the most inefficient way to do business. In this exciting world of social media, of online giving, it's been a really, I think it's been a key to our explosive growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we were talking earlier, but the transparency aspect is so interesting, isn't it? The technology enables that. I mean, obviously, you collect so much data on companies, and it's like how do you measure whether something's working or not? I mean, is that a really important point for people now?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Scott said. I think we work with about 1,500 organizations, and the old days of mailing in a check in December and then waiting 12 months to get a report on what happened with the money that you donated 12 months before, those days are over. So there's more or less, there are probably 1% of the nonprofit organizations out there doing what Charity Water is doing. And what Charity Water did was raise the bar for everyone else as far as transparency and accountability goes. And our tech is sort of helping to magnify that across the sector and help other organizations do a better job of communicating and close the loop of what happened with the dollars that were donated, whether that's $5 or it's $5 million.
Yeah.
So absolutely a massive trend is I usually say shining a light in a dark room. Most people don't know what nonprofit organizations are actually doing out there, and it's not that there's a lot of amazing innovation in the social sector, and we feel through Classy technology and looking at organizations like Charity Water that the time is changing, and in the next 10 years, I think that the sector will fundamentally change in these ways.
Right, because that whole old model where you'd kind of bung your change into the Salvation Army red bucket and then have no idea. You felt good when you did it, but then you had no idea where it went. I mean, I guess that's over. I mean, can you see yourself being the kind of Yelp for charitable donations?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think mainly it's about, again, shining that light in their dark room. So simply giving the organizations the tools to communicate to the public and institutional funders like the OS Fund and others and traditional foundations what they're actually doing against the social problem that they're trying to address. And just having that layer of transparency there and having the data out there will really shine a light on the best innovations across the sector without giving it a 5-star rating. I think simply just sourcing that data and making it public will do wonders for the sector.
Yeah. So Bryan, I mean, it's like, whether you're giving $5 or $5 million, I mean, how do you identify the company? Josh from Hampton Creek was on stage yesterday. So that's such an interesting company. But how do you identify what the companies you want to invest in, and is good the definition of how do you define good?
Yeah. The way we think about it is, I use the operating system metaphor, and the idea is that the biggest breakthroughs in humanity have happened at this operating system level, and that I want to invest in entrepreneurs working on quantum leap breakthroughs. So if their technology works, it would change humanity. So for example, a company, Human Longevity, they're working on redesigning medicine and health and therapeutics and drug discovery using the power of the genome and other information. And the same thing is true with biology, that the world runs on biology, you and I are biology. And if we could harness the power of biology to code it, just like we code computer software, these breakthroughs create radical transformations for what Scott is doing, what both Scots are doing. And so we're really interested in investing in technology that would radically change the human species for the better in what we consider to be good, and that would have major impacts to benefit billions of people. And so we're really focused on a for-profit model of breakthrough tech that is otherwise pretty hard to fund.
Right. So I mean, there's a lot of people here clearly probably going to hit you up later on. So what are you interested in? What are the areas that you kind of would really like to invest in?
So far it's been artificial intelligence, biology, space exploration tools, genomics, health and medicine, really the underlying layers of our society, energy, that again, if these companies succeed, it would radically impact humanity. For example, if the genomics company is successful, we could extend healthy human life to, let's say, 120 from our current 70s. And so that has that kind of potential of impact on the world.
So technology is interesting in that the focus recently has been very much on social media and all this kind of stuff like that. But you're talking about, I mean, Peter Thiel and the Founders Fund obviously very interested in kind of making bigger bets on more life-changing technology. I mean, do you think we're making a shift now? Do you think that we're going to, technology is getting a bit more serious, like moving away from the social?
I do. I think that since I launched the fund, there's been a remarkable outpouring of support and collaboration. I don't find a hyper-competitive nature in the deals we do. It's very collaborative because I think we're after a similar vision. We see this potential of what kind of world we can build, and we want to encourage the entrepreneurs who have the skill sets to do it. And I do think that the winds are shifting, that more and more people will invest in hard technical problems that do pose some greater risk, but do have a path for breakthrough. And so I do think in the coming years, it will become more common to see someone pursuing these kinds of endeavors.
Right. So Scott, can you tell us a bit more about the work you're doing at the moment? Just, I mean, obviously the terrible tragedy in Nepal, and so how does your organization differ from like the more traditional organizations on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, in Nepal, it's actually the first relief effort that we've gotten involved in. And we've been working in Nepal for 5 years. We've got about $5 million of water projects there in 844 villages and schools. And many of our projects are actually in that zone. It's one of the few urban environments that we've decided to work in because the water in Kathmandu is so bad. The kids are dying of diarrhea in the city, in the schools. So, for us, it was really as simple as just using the 100% model and looking at this as an opportunity to tie our donors to what we have done with their money. I mean, it sounds so simple, but that is typically, you don't get that in the relief space. When you give to some of these behemoth organizations, sometimes the money doesn't even hit the relief. In the fine print, it says we can use this for whatever we want. And it'll often even end up in an endowment. So we had about 7,000 donors in the last 5 or 6 days give $671,000. We look at that as an opportunity to kind of restore 7,000. The average donation size is what, about $100?
It's
$90.
about, sorry.
$90.
Wow.
So we look at that as an opportunity to take 7,000 people who care about Nepal and say, here's what we've done. It's some water trucks, it's purification tablets, it's rehabilitation. We're not exactly sure what all that looks like, but it's just a simple value of transparency when you apply it to everything you do, really is transformative to the brand. One other thing I'll speak to is, we're really excited about a sensor project we have going on right now. We have about 16,000 wells in 24 countries. So if they are all working right now, 5.2 million people are drinking clean water that didn't have it. But we don't know that they're all working. We know they were all built. They're all on Google Maps. They're all transparent within 10 feet. But we've, over the last 2 years, been working on a remote sensor that we can drop in these wells so that I can see on my smartphone, how much water a woman in Ethiopia is taking today. At the same time, training local, almost geek squads of entrepreneurs and mechanics to go and act on that data. So we have working prototypes. We're hoping to go to scale to 4,000 by the end of the year. And what that means is just literally there could be communities right now who are back at the swamp or the river because their well is broken and nobody knows. So just that transparency, shining a light on that, will improve the implementation and help people get back online.
And do you think that transparency is what has made you so successful? I mean, you were talking earlier about was 1.4 million charitable organizations.
Yeah, 1.4 million, yeah, and so few get big.
So how many of those, it sounds like a weird thing to say, how does good get scalable? Like, what does good have to do to become you?
I mean, Scott can probably speak to that too, working with so many organizations. But I think it's a lot of things. Transparency is important. I think, building an inspirational and hopeful brand has been another one. We care a lot about design. We care about the way things look. We have a saying at the organization that it's about opportunity and not guilt. For years, the charitable sector has shamed people into feeling horrible. The kids with flies on their face, the 800 number at midnight. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And, we've tried to say, hey, we're on this mission to give everybody clean water. Do you want to come? Do you want to join us? And it's a lot of fun. And we have 6-year-olds doing lemonade stands, and we have, major donors investing in innovative products. Do you want to join us? So I think there's a lot of things that have worked, the transparency, the 100%, the use of tech. And I think it's a great issue. Again, it's one of those inarguable human needs. I mean, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, it's people need water.
Yeah.
And no one can kind of disagree with that. And being able to show impact is so important. I mean, I think for some of your organizations, it's more difficult if you're doing research to cure a disease. I mean, we're lucky that we have, people like Bryan who are willing to kind of take more risk. He's not going to see the immediate impact, like a 6-year-old girl wants to on those donations. Some of the stuff you're investing in might be 10 or 20, 30 years down the line.
Yeah. So, I mean, Scott, because obviously you work with a lot of organizations like this. I mean, what do you have to do to be good and succeed? What do you to be the next charity water? What are the kind of key things that anybody out here who wants to do something good should be doing?
I think in general, across all the organizations, what we're seeing is that, and it comes back to that end-of-year gift sort of concept and that going away. Things are moving from like the old school charity handout sort of mindset to more of an investment philosophy and looking at every donation or gift, whether it's $5 or $5 million, as an investment in that organization. And as long as the organization itself can prove that it's making progress and delivering a solution to the market against the problem that it's tackling, just like my company would have to prove to its own investors and to raise capital, I think if we start to move in that direction, you'll see the best innovations get funded, not only by the $5 grassroots donor, but by the OS Fund and others who can deploy more capital.
Right. And what are the kind of things that stand in the way of, for you, and just like what are the obstacles you're facing at the moment, do you think?
At our company specifically? Well, I think we're growing pretty fast, and we're out there raising money as well. I think financing and putting capital to good use is always probably front of mind for a CEO of any company. But I think it's really fundamentally understanding at a deeper level, where the problems or some of the problems, the deeper problems that these organizations are really having. So, we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and I think when you start off in a venture, you have a surface level understanding of the problem you're tackling. And if you're diligent and you really keep your eye on your customer, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into that problem. And some of the things that's happening, a lot of the problems that these organizations are tackling are extremely complex. And it's one thing just to give them a grassroots fundraising solution, but to actually try to help them solve that problem in a more efficient and expeditious manner is an entirely different challenge. And so for us, it's, we're a vertical software company. We only focus on nonprofits and social enterprises right now. And we're all about helping them solve those problems. So I think it's exciting, but also challenging. As we go deeper into the space, we realize that it's more complex, and it's going to require, literally decades of work on our end to help improve things.
So there's more of an appetite for complexity and solving big issues, you think, now than there has been for a while? Do you think things are changing, moving in that direction?
I do. I think what really gets me the most excited about life is I think of Leonardo da Vinci and his famous sketchbooks where he sketched out future technologies like a helicopter and others.
Yeah.
And the difference between him and us is we can literally build whatever we can imagine, unlike any time ever before in history. And we have these technologies, and so what gets me excited every day when I wake up is we literally have this opportunity to do so. And we have entrepreneurs with the skill sets to do it, they have the knowledge to do it, and they can pursue these bold and audacious endeavors, right? In all these areas, nonprofit, for-profit.
Yeah.
And if we can get more people to understand the power of our technology and the opportunity at hand, I think we really can harness enormous energy to build amazing things in this world. Things that people have always dreamed about us doing.
Yeah, it's amazing that the technology has enabled people, given people all this information and also this kind of access to do something good. I mean, it's like, so often with technology, it gets lost in the weeds talking about small issues or social media, which is clearly really important and is an enabling thing for this as well. But it's incredible that we can actually do good with technology. Yeah. So thank you so much, guys. It's really great to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.